Hi, everybody. Chuck here. In this next opinion piece, as I prepare for the CTSC exam, what I wanted to share with you is a couple things on the area of it's called refining the target value and benefits. So we're still in module two, we're putting the plan together, but we've actually moved to the point where we're analyzing possible solutions and maybe refining them a bit, or we may have tested out some of these solutions already and based on what we've gotten for results, we may have to refine these as well. So let's kind of dive in and talk about that concept of refining values and benefits. Um, Another way you can look at it certainly is the idea of opportunity analysis, is going in, looking at the opportunity and saying, well, what has it shown us? And do we have to tweak it at all? And it's entirely possible we may have to do some change management stuff. If it's beforehand, we may have to help people understand that these gaps are real, they're important, and they are possible to do. Maybe also after the fact, we've performed it and people are like, well, I don't know if that's really that worth it. Well, yeah, we still got to do it because this is part of this effort to shift us towards where this new place we want to do. And so problems that occur in that process, problems we identify, we also need to look at those as opportunities that, hey, if we fix that, looks what it gets us. And so we have to refine at the same time. Before we stick with one solution, we got to realize too that we look at all the alternatives and we've got to test and validate all those different potential projects for things like, is it doable, the feasibility? Does it make sense with what we're doing, the strategic fit? Does it give us the financial value we plan out of that? As well, some additional goals we've got coming out of this testing is, looking at and trying to estimate, see what we get in terms of the amount of the reduction we'll have on the performance gap and validating any data objects. So by testing it, does it in fact actually move us forward towards where we need to be in the process? And as we're testing these out, as we're validating, certainly, we're trying to gain buy-in by people having walked through them with us so they get to experience, so they have an element in the game, so to speak. So each project then gets tested for scenario testing in some way to see if it fails, if it passes, does it move on to the next phase if it passes, elements like that. We also should say, we hit it as a bullet point, but we don't say much else, is define and test the to-be documentation. Documentation is so important. I think we all know that, but it's also one of the most miserable, boring things to do. Yet if we don't have it, how do we teach people consistently? How do we retain that knowledge? The documenting we do now is what's going to be carried into how we perform our work. And if we come up with a bang up way to do it and it's really successful, then we want folks to perform that work, as we tested it out and decided this is the best way to do it. Also coming out of this effort is to create any maps, process maps, RACI diagrams, who's going to do what, anything that helps the design team and other people visualize what the supply chain network is going to look like, the size of the changes, does it trigger any ideas, as well as folks identifying, yep, this is what this process looks like, so I can tackle it. The last thing we're also talking about here is the concept of creating a supply chain capability map. And what a supply chain capability model is, I should say model instead of map, a supply chain capability model, let me read to you here what I wrote down. It is a model or a picture of the to-be capabilities for everyone and everywhere. This is what the model is going to look like. This is the capabilities we want to have to implement this solution. This is the capabilities we want to have to be able to perform the work when we get done. And this to-be state or capabilities can be facilities, culture, people, org chart, change management, human resource skills, maturity skills. We need to define what this whole picture and what this whole business is going to look like. So we kind of go back and start with that business context summary, which is where the business is at today. And this capabilities model is telling us, look, this is what it's going to look like when we get there. So these are all things we need to do in terms of not only testing them out, but identifying, do we need to refine any targets, benefits, end states. And so this is our chance to get things zeroed in even closer and even a bit more.